There are young men who walk into the world already carrying more weight than their age knows how to hold. You can see it in their eyes before you even hear their voice. Eyes that learn to scan the room before they learn to trust. Eyes that speak louder than their words ever could. NBA YoungBoy has those eyes. And no matter how you feel about him, no matter what generation you sit in, there's something about him that tells the truth before he even opens his mouth. He's not a star, he's a projection screen. And whole generations see something different when they look at him. The younger ones see someone familiar, the older ones see something they fear. The glare and the old wound it reminds us of. There's a certain kind of ache that comes from being watched before you understand yourself. It's not the ache of fame, it's the ache of exposure, that cold feeling of eyes on you before you've learned how to protect anything soft inside you. And long before social media existed, our community had already lived through that dynamic. Older generations know the feeling of being examined before being understood. Younger generations know the feeling of being seen before being ready. It's the same wound, just dressed in a different light. In the old world, it sounded like control. In the new world, it sounds like visibility. But the emotional effect is the same. You learn to perform before you learn to grow. It may or may not be real, but the Willie Lynch letter doesn't have to be real for the logic to still be in our bloodstream. Divide the old from the young. Divide the dark from the light. Divide the man from the woman. Divide the boy with too much fire from the one taught to hide his flame. Young boy is what happens when those old fractures show up in a modern child. He wasn't just introduced to the world early, he was illuminated before he had shape. That glare hit him before the guidance did. And that glare isn't warm. It isn't protective. It isn't proud of you. It feels like the wrong kind of spotlight. Bright enough to expose, not gentle enough to hold. This generation understands that more deeply than anyone wants to admit. They grew up online, a digital version of the same old split. Light versus shadow, approval versus punishment, visibility versus safety. Algorithms played the role overseers once did, measuring them, evaluating them, rewarding the loudest parts of them, punishing the soft parts that were still developing. So when they saw a young boy, a kid who wasn't polished, wasn't managed, wasn't taught how to brace for the brightness, they recognized themselves immediately. He didn't rise because he was perfect. He rose because he was honest in a world that rewards honesty before emotional readiness. And that's the first real bridge between him and the younger generation. They didn't just witness his childhood being swallowed by attention. They felt their own childhoods disappearing in the same light. It wasn't a star they discovered. He was a mirror they grew up with. The kind of love he never learned to receive. If you listen carefully, even in the chaos, even in the volatility, his core emotion isn't anger. That boy is longing for stability, for belonging, for someone to show him what love looks like without conditions or consequences. Older generations hear the volume, the anger. Younger generations hear the vulnerability. Because kids don't come into the world knowing how to love. They learn it. And if nobody teaches it, if nobody models it, then the child grows older, but the wound stays young. You see it in the way he reacts. You see it in the way he protects himself. You see it in the way he clings to the wrong people because they arrived at the right emotional moment. And probably not even because they were safe, but because they were there. That's the psychology older generations often miss. They see volatility. Younger kids see a boy still trying to figure out what a safe heart feels like, even once he becomes a man. Pressure makes some men open up, and makes other men bare their teeth. I think to compare Kai and YoungBoy because I just did Kai's video and came to the realization that they both grew up in front of us. Both climbed fast, both became symbols before they were even fully men. But the difference between them isn't personality, it's how their spirits react to the world's weight. Kai is the kind of young man who hears criticism and pauses. He listens, he reflects, he adjusts, and something in him believes that the world isn't always out to hurt him. When society pointed fingers at him, at first he tried to run from the pressure or bark back at it, but that wasn't him. He quietly accepted the truth inside it and tried to grow from it. YoungBoy never learned that kind of safety. He never had the luxury of assuming the world meant well. So when pressure hits him, it doesn't sound like guidance. It sounds like danger. He's the scared fox in the woods, small, wounded, cornered, and showing teeth for the ones who won't understand he's hurting. When you think of Tupac saying, dying inside but outside you look fearless, Kentrell Golden. People mistake that fear for defiance. They mistake that bark for the boy. But underneath all that noise is someone who learned that early, that the only way to protect himself was to fight first and feel later. Kai responds to the world like someone who believes correction won't kill him. YoungBoy responds like someone who had to survive being misunderstood long before he ever became famous. That's the difference. It's not softness, not maturity, it's not discipline. Just two different histories, two different emotional instincts, two different relationships with being seen. Kai grew into himself under pressure. YoungBoy guards himself from the pressure because it feels like the same thing that's always been trying to break him. And when you understand that, their stories stop looking like opposites and start looking like two different answers to the same question. What do you do when the world gets loud before you're ready for it? The industry didn't make him. Nobody picked YoungBoy. Nobody groomed him for stardom. Nobody scouted him early and said that's the one. There was no machine behind him, no executive shaping his image, no polishing his edges, no safety net in case he fell apart. He came into the world the same way he came into the industry. Alone. With nothing but the weight he was carrying and the truth he was willing to say out loud. And somehow, people found him anyway. Kids who felt ignored, boys who didn't feel protected, girls who saw the fear in his eyes and recognized it. Young people who had never been loved gently and saw a piece of themselves in him. He didn't rise because he was marketed, he rose because he was hurting. There's something different about an artist who was not introduced to us but discovered by us. Someone who didn't have a spotlight handed to him, but stood on top of his own pain and made that world look up. When people say he's the YN's Taylor Swift, it's not no joke. It's about connection. It's about the way his fans treat him like someone they grew up with, someone they want to protect, someone they're rooting for, even on the days when he can't root for himself. And that's the part that makes the older generations uncomfortable, because it means millions of kids didn't just listen to him. They chose him. They chose the boy nobody saved. They chose the kid who never had a machine behind him. They chose someone built from trauma and not training. That kind of loyalty, that kind of emotional bond, you can't manufacture that. You can't buy that. You can't script that. It only happens when the audience sees a wound before they see the fame. And that's what they saw in him first. The potential to shift the generation. Kids don't love him because he's chaotic. Kids love him because he's transparent. Transparency is the currency to this generation raised on surveillance. Honesty is armor to these kids who feel watched but not understood. To them, he's the expression Tupac once felt in you. Ice Cube, Scarface. He's the expression of emotions and how they want to express it. By saying F it all because there's a hurt nobody is helping me with, so I'll figure it out myself. Or at least with this artist. YoungBoy, intentionally or not, has given a permission to admit, I feel this too. I'm overwhelmed like this too. I'm confused like this too. I wasn't taught love either. Even if they think they did, I'm not sure I felt it. And the moment he's able to shift how he expresses it, millions will be able to express it that way too. They're looking for the example in someone who looks like them. And that matters. It matters more than the numbers, more than the songs, more than the controversies. Because there's a moment in every generation when a single voice becomes a mirror. And he's that mirror. What he could become if he learns what love is. What changes everything is the possibility of his healing. If YoungBoy ever learns how to love himself in a way that isn't tied to chaos, if he ever experiences real stability, if he ever receives the emotional guidance he should have at 12, he could reshape the emotional vocabulary of a generation that feels too much and hides it too poorly. He could become what he never had. A blueprint, a compass, a model for young men who grew up inside noise and think noise is the only thing they're allowed to offer. A model for young women who are attracted to the danger room. He doesn't need to fix himself. He needs to learn what safety feels like. And from there, everything else evolves. He's not a warning, he's reflection. Older generations look at YoungBoy and see everything they want to forget. Younger generations look at him and see everything they were never allowed to say. Both perspectives are real. Both perspectives come from pain, and both lead to the same truth. He's not the problem. He's the proof that emotional survival has a cost. If he ever finds love that teaches instead of takes, love that steadies instead of shakes, love that guides instead of rushes, he won't just grow, he'll help a generation grow with him. Emotional intelligence so you don't move emotionally.
Sweet little ditty, I don't mean to hurt you, baby. Oh,